Welcome to Huddle Up, brought to you by the Fields Auto Group. Jaguars senior writer John Oehser, NFL Network analyst and former Jaguar Bucky Brooks, and senior reporter J.P. Shadrick bring you the latest on your Jacksonville Jaguars. Huddle Up starts right now.
From the Indiana Convention Center, Indianapolis, the NFL Scouting Combine. Jaguars.com coverage continues with Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks. Brought to you by Fields Auto Group Jacksonville. See Fields first. Jacksonville's premier luxury auto group. Go to fieldsauto.com. J.P. Shadrick, John Oehser. This is Bucky Brooks week.
What's happening?
Indy.
What's
How are
going
you?
on? Man, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for who's treating for dinner? You treating us for dinner? Treating all the
You're
Jags
pointing the wrong way, big guy. Look over there. Yeah.
Somebody. I got a text that somebody's treating all the Jags people that are here for dinner.
NFL media, it's Bucky Brooks.
No. It
That's right.
didn't come from my account, but I heard that.
Yeah,
I'm sure the people behind the camera also heard that too.
I like my
I'm
steak
excited.
medium rare.
I'm
Thank you.
excited. I may even get off my no swine week this week. I may order a pork chop. Order a pork chop.
Wow.
Since it's on somebody else's dime.
Yeah.
Like, JP,
that's when the time to go back. Yeah.
I got a text.
That's a good. Okay, well, good for you.
38995.
We apparently didn't get the text.
Yeah, sometimes
so,
text or spam or phishing.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, that's what the Combine is all about.
I think you might check the email on that text.
Oh, okay. The Combine is about good food, good conversations, some fun times, and a little bit of work.
Oh, yeah, football, too.
Yeah,
on top of that.
A little bit of that.
We've got plenty to get to, plenty new around the Jacksonville Jaguars, of course, but it was kind of a victory lap of sorts for the new GM and the head coach yesterday, Bucky, and their first chance to get out in front of the national folks, at least, in their new respective roles here. So, yes, they're all young. That's been a prevailing word and storyline. But, what was your impressions of what happened yesterday?
Well, I thought we talked about this last week on the podcast. We talked about alignment in the room. And I felt like, John, you kind of had a sense that maybe Gladstone might be the guy given the relationship with Liam. I know we talked about alignment and being able to see the game the same, but also being in the same building, aspiring to create a culture that's been very, very successful elsewhere. Not saying that you steal what the LA Rams have done, but in terms of understanding how important it is to have a shared belief system from front office to coaching staff to players, how that's essential to success. I love it. I love the things that I've heard from both parties. Well, I can't even say both parties because I think we need to include Tony Baselli in the conversation. But I love the alignment that we have from all that. I think the synergy is going to serve the Jaguars well.
You know, people who listen to this show know Bucky likes to throw us a jargon every now and then, like a football phrase. Well, I liked what Liam Coen said yesterday about this in sort of calling the Rams method the North Star, meaning it's not going to be exactly like that, but that's certainly
part of what we're looking
a directional point, and I think they share a value and a vision because they both certainly Gladstone's structure and his football soul was built with the Rams. It's all he's known. But then Liam certainly has drawn from Sean McVay in his intro presser, talked about the culture and what he felt from the Rams building. Not surprising in that sense that they would draw their general manager from that. I'm excited about Gladstone. I really am.
We always hear about the coaching trees, but there's personnel and GM trees too, right, Buck?
Yeah, there are. I mean, like typically what teams do, teams that need a general manager to try and take someone from a successful organization. I think in this one, this is really different because it wasn't just plucking a talent evaluator. It was basically changing the entire way the Jaguars do business. When Shad Khan made the decision to move on from Doug Peterson, then eventually move on from Trent Baalke, he did it with a plan to, hey, let's change how everything is done. Let's see if we can be the best at what we want to do when it comes to evaluating players, putting together a team, operating as a team on the field, and then really the way everyone works inside the building. And to do that, you tend to look at other organizations fondly and see if you can take some ideas and take some of the best and brightest from them. And I feel like we've done that. And Gladstone, you talk about a guy who, when I talk to people out in L.A., they talk about being a scouting savant in terms of understanding what they want to. Now, I would say he uses really big words that we could break down simply. When he talked about, like, intangible qualities and those things, he could just say those qualities. But I understand the ecosystem.
They love the ecosystem.
But
oh, yeah.
I do like the fact that they're talking about intangibles and guys that love it and are passionate about the game, because the buzzword that people are annoyed with is culture. But the only way that you get that is you got to have a bunch of guys in the building that have a shared set of beliefs, and that's coaches, players, that's front office personnel. And I feel like that is first and foremost. And then Liam Coen also echoing that, but also bringing an edge to him as a coach, a throwback coach that wants to embrace the old school values and traditions that have been very successful in this league for a long time. Look, physicality and toughness, old school never goes out of style.
I'm fascinated, Bucky, in talking to Gladstone a little bit. Obviously, there's a high level of intelligence, but JP's heard me talk about it already. There also seems to be a very high-end skill of communication there, the ability to get his thoughts and maintain a structure and a process, if you will, of making sure that the assistant wide receivers coach knows what the West Coast area scout wants in a player, and really vice versa, and that language is the same, and that everybody understands what everybody's doing. From your perspective, having been on the inside of this, how important is that ability for a GM to make sure that all is working in sync? Because that's hard, because the West Coast scout might see the wide receivers coach once a year, right? Mm-hmm. So how important is that, what I'm talking about?
It's very important. It's very important that it's very clear and established what we want in a Jaguars player. First, the character stuff has to be really, really communicated. It has to be stressed. It has to be emphasized that we want players who have these kind of traits when it comes to intangible character. Intelligence, work ethic, overall football character, moral character, all those things. But then when it comes to evaluating players, the West Coast guys shouldn't be operating in a silo. Just, hey, I like this player, so I'm going to put a big grade on this player. There has to be a constant dialogue between coaches and scouts to clearly understand the type of players that we want to bring back for the team that we want to be, the scheme that we play, and all of those things. And that comes through meetings that they're having now. That comes through meetings that you have throughout training camp. That comes through self-scouting and being able to point out that this is the type of player that we want. We need more of these guys and less of those guys. And as you continue to kind of beat that drum, scouts can pick it up and they can come back and bring back type of players that work. Because when we talk about the Rams being the North Star, look at how successful that they've been with third, fourth, fifth, sixth round players. When they went years without having a first round pick, the team didn't fall apart. They were able to get guys that they were able to draft and play and contribute because they knew exactly what they wanted. And the coaches were willing to put those guys on the field.
And a lot of picks the next 2 years coming up for the Jags, yeah.
When you said the word savant in relation to Gladstone, you've scouted, I haven't. What does that mean to you? And I guess dig down into that in a little bit. What are the traits, and how does that translate into job performance?
When I talk about the savant that he brings, that he is, I'm talking about not only the intelligence, but the emotional IQ, the emotional feel for players and those things. I'm also talking about the ability to communicate at a high level, not only to his staff, but to coaches, to players, to clearly have an exchange of dialogue that allows everyone to walk away clearly knowing what the expectations are when it comes to looking at players, when it comes to the players understanding the standards and norms of the team, all of those things. Great teams in every level communicate really, really well. You have to be able to be open and honest with the dialogue, player to player, player to coach, coach to coach. And if you have that kind of environment that exists in the building, then you don't have these hidden agendas and you don't have these issues that become bigger problems because no one has addressed them directly. When I talk about what he has been able to do as an evaluator and as a, I can't even say picker, but as a team builder, he exhibits those qualities, and it's very apparent when you look at the behind-the-scenes things that we've done already with him in the Jaguars when he met with the coaches to how he handled himself in front of the podium.
Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks, JP Shadrick, John Oehser from Indianapolis, and the Jags have a new head coach. The opponents are set, and season group and suite ticket deposits are now available. Be the first to select your seats for next season. Place your deposits today at jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. Another piece of this week is the entire coaching staff is here. Usually, if they come at all, they would phase in depending on interviews with prospects and workouts and timing of all that. Well, they're all here because they haven't been together that long. They've got to have staff meetings. They're working on building an offense, defense, all the actual terminology they're going to use. So this time is valuable for Liam Coen and his entire staff to get on the same page.
Yeah, don't waste a day. Because of the change in schedule, the way the combine operates, there are some times in the day where the staff can get together. It's not only about what they want to do X and O's. This part of it is getting everyone on the same page. Yep. So we just spent the last segment talking about how do you get the West Coast scout to understand what the assistant wide receiver coach wants. You put them in the room and you clearly have that conversation. You have the assistant wide receiver coach do a presentation on here are the traits that we're looking for in our X receiver. Here's what we want in a Z and an F, all of those things. And then you might even have a quiz where everyone is taking notes so that everyone understands the entire coaching staff, the entire scouting staff. And then you do the same thing in reverse. From a scouting standpoint, you talk about these are the traits that we look for in our personnel. And so coaches understand that. And you're having prototypes that everyone sticks to, because when you start making exceptions in terms of the type of players you want, you have a team full of exceptions, and the team cannot sustain a level of success.
All right, give me one thing. You're the league guy. You're the NFL scouting combine guy. Take a number this week if you want to talk about it.
Right, I guess.
I had number 13. I had to wait in line. Out of the entire coaching staff, what sort of sticks out? Give me a guy that you know something about that you think will make a tangible difference.
There's so many good guys on staff.
Okay.
I'll say this. One, when I look at the staff, I see guys who are player development specialists, guys who are really good at teaching on the grass, meaning that they can give players a set of drills that if they do consistently day after day after day, they improve, and they improve in games. When I think about the offensive staff, the first guy that comes to mind is the Jacksonville native Edgar Bennett. And I will personally credit Edgar Bennett to a lot of success that I had in the league because as a young guy, he showed me how to be a pro. He took me in the offseason and showed me how to do certain things.
This is when you played together in Green Bay.
When we played together in Green Bay, Edgar Bennett would take me – we had a basketball gym there, but we would lunge. And he was like, hey, it's really important how you build up your lower body so you can avoid these lower body soft tissue injuries. But then watching him go from being a running back to being one of the premier wide receiver coaches, because he did that so he could enhance his opportunities of being a play caller. He easily could have sat in the running back room and done the things that he's always done, but he stretched himself. So I love seeing what that is. Then on the defensive side of the ball, knowing Ron Miles for so long and watching what he has been able to do for so long with young DBs, and thinking about some of the issues that we had last year, ball flying over the top of the defense and just some of the communication issues and those things. And knowing that, look, we're going to be running a defense that was really successful at Boston College and really successful when they made the transition up to Green Bay. And Jeff Hafley did the job. So to take people that have been in that system, that understand how to get young guys ready to play in it, to me it all matches up. And then what Liam wants to do with the quarterback and how they want to build up the quarterback and take the quarterback where he is and not necessarily change him, but make him better given the skill set that he has. To me, that's what it's about. It's not about the plays. It's about the players and how can we make the players that we have and the players that we're going to acquire better. That is about the coaching. I'm excited about the coaches that we have.
Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks, J.P. Shadrick, John Oehser from the Combine and Indy. Daily's Place schedule has started. Rod Stewart was last night.
Oh, man. I am so – Rod
saw
Stewart.
Photos. I saw him last year. He's good. But I didn't go last night because we were here.
Young hearts be free tonight.
Apparently. Coral Reefer Band, March 15th. Teddy Swims, May 10th. All the schedule, tickets, dailysplace.com. It is free. What are you looking at?
Is that Avril Lavigne?
Yeah,
Wow.
Avril Lavigne, June 23rd.
You know what?
She's just a skater boy.
That-
Said see you later, boy.
That might be a thing. June?
June
JP,
23rd.
we should go to that one. We should follow up.
It's
in that
right
one.
after the off-season program.
We should follow up.
Are you
right
going to come
that.
for the off-season program?
You know how
or
much
stay in LA.
You know how much I love OTAs and mini camps and all those things.
I can just picture you rolling down the LA freeway, a little Avril Lavigne.
Come on,
the cassette player.
Why not? my little Prius. Why not?
That'd be perfect.
It'd be perfect. Like we should do that. The 23rd. I'm gonna put that on my calendar.
Well, maybe Baselli will give us a couch at Daly's place.
Sit right there.
That he used to sit at.
So I have one question for Bucky before you wrap this up. We've talked so much about change of culture, right? And at the top of the show, we talked about how they're changing the way they do things, and clearly bringing in
strength coach,
a new GM. For fans who hear this all the time, right? We've seen this regime change, combine a lot. What do you look for as a fan to see evidence of what we're talking about? How does a Gladstone, Coen regime, Baselli, how's it going to look different aside from record, but just what is it going to feel like?
You know, the hard thing is we can say all this stuff and we can talk about the tough talk and pay attention to the detail, because I heard a lot of that last offseason. You know, we're tougher practices, we're more attentive and all that. And at the end of the day, it comes down to what does the team look like when we watch them. A lot of it will be determined by the eyeball test, not in terms of the results, but how does this team look? Do they play fast? Are they going from snap to whistle? Do they run to the ball with violence? On offense, do they have a level of physicality where you see the offensive linemen finishing blocks down the field? Are running backs exhibiting more physicality and toughness as they're finishing? Do you see the quarterback and the wide receivers have days where the ball doesn't hit the ground in practice? All of those things are part of the culture, but ultimately we can talk about changing stuff. We can talk about doing all these other things. At the end of the day, does this team play different? And that won't be determined until we kick that thing off in September.
You got to wait till September?
Yeah.
Yeah, because none
of
it matters.
What are they paying you for?
Well, I mean, that's it. None of it.
The off-season program doesn't matter then.
No. None of it matters when it comes to the record.
Right.
I've sat and I watched, and we talked about last year's practice, and, man, we're picking off so many passes, and we're getting tips and overthrows and balls, this and that, and it didn't translate in games. So ultimately, you want everyone to prepare well. You want them to practice well. You want them to dominate the preseason. But we judge by how it looks during the regular season.
Right.
So we got to play well when it really, really matters.
Let's wrap with Bucky Brooks mock draft 2.0.
2.0.
Came out yesterday.
Because 1.0 didn't quite cut it.
Do you know how much time I spent on this? That's probably why I got bags up in my eyes. A lot of time belaboring over these points and who's going to go.
Well, let's go through the top five then, because with all your hard work, I wouldn't want to leave anything out.
No.
Number one in your second mock draft, Abdul Carter, Penn State edge rusher for the Titans. Cleveland Browns at 2, Cam Ward, quarterback. Giants at 3, Shador Sanders, quarterback. Patriots at 4, Will Campbell, an offensive lineman from LSU. Then at number 5, the Jaguars with Travis Hunter, Colorado corner and wide receiver.
How much fun would that be?
Oh, it'd be fun.
How much fun would that be? I know.
And he's a case where he's there. You got to take him, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that's sort of
he's a really good player. He's a really instinctive player. As I believe we transition from more of a man-to-man defense to a zone defense where we have eyes on the ball, you're not going to find many guys with better ball skills and hand-eye coordination than Travis Hunter. This is a guy who is funny. We're talking about him as a DB, but he won the Biletnikoff Award for being the best wide receiver in college football, yet I'm saying his best position is cornerback.
I don't think he was even a finalist for the Thorpe, was he?
No, which is crazy
right.
because if you saw the amount of plays that he made on the ball, I understand it.
Right.
He's unique. I'm not saying he's generational in terms of we've never seen that before. We have, though. We've seen Champ Bailey and Charles Woodson and all those guys go. He's a really good football player, and I think when you are the Jaguars at this point, you're just looking to add really good football players. The other name that is constantly tied to the Jags has been Mason Graham. Another good football player who doesn't have prototypical length, but is a dominant player.
Yeah, he's a guy, I guess, that when you see him at the Combine, you think, okay, well, not the most physically impressive guy ever to walk through here. But when you watch him play, you think this guy can't miss. I mean, I don't say can't miss, they all miss.
Loves it.
But
it
very, very good.
Loves it, comes out in his play. You see the production. You see the performance, all those things. He's tough. We need some more tough guys along that front line. He would fit. He'd be a great fit.
Is there any danger here? The only thing concerns me about a Travis Hunter pick is this. It seems like for the last decade, JP, when I answer fan questions, it's why don't we build up the lines? We got to be better on the line. We got to be better on the line. And then when it gets to the draft, you find an excuse or a reason not to go line. Mm-hmm. At some point, do you just have to commit to that, Bucky, or I guess that's the dilemma, right? That's what every team faces every year.
Yeah, every team faces that. The only team, I mean, not the only team, but the teams that have done it well commit to it. Yeah. They make sure they guarantee that, hey, no matter what, we are going to take an offensive or defensive lineman in the first 2 rounds because that's where the blue chip players come out of, and we're committed to making sure that we're dominant at the trenches. In this scenario, like we can talk about Travis Hunter and those things, but if you ask me who we need to get, it has to be a trench warrior. If you're going to be a physical team, we saw this last year with Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, and everyone's like, oh, you got to take this and take that. And he was like, yeah, we're going to take an offensive tackle because this is who we're going to be. I'm curious to see as we're building this team out, and we're talking about being a tougher throwback type team, are we committed to building in the trenches? Because that's where the games are won and lost.
Yeah, I think the interesting push and pull internal conflict, JP, is they've got to have secondary players, right? I mean, the secondary, Tyson Campbell, beyond that, a lot of question marks. At the same time, when Gladstone talked yesterday, he said what makes a lot of sense. He talked about building the lines and about guys who could score. You know, that philosophically, that was sort of the area he talked. That doesn't include secondary. So that's So let's scrimmage that out. 4-13, you got more issues than one. But
yeah, let's scrimmage that out as it relates. So we can talk about the Rams ecosystem, but what he says, you go back and look at the past drafts of the Philadelphia Eagles and what they've invested in early. Linemen and people who can score points. Devontae Smith was taken early in the draft because he can put the ball in the paint. They invested money in A.J. Brown because he can put the ball in the paint. When they draft those linemen, offensive and defensive, because they can dominate the line of scrimmage. I am all for that. You got to put points on the board because as much as I want to throw it back to 1980s and have these slobber knocker games where we're playing great defense, if you cannot score in this league, it's hard to win. And so you have to be able to score from anywhere in the field, and sometimes that means a playmaker has to be a top pick.
You're playing Hunter at corner and with some packages on offense?
I am playing at corner. I think his ball skills, his instincts are just ridiculous. And he's good enough to be a wide receiver 3 or 4, but primarily he needs to play corner. And Will Johnson from Michigan is also another good player who's versatile, can play man or zone, high IQ, toughness, all that other stuff. There are a handful of selections that can go there. But when you talk about Gladstone, because here's what we know. When you're in these podiums over here and everyone wants to like play poker and they can't help but reveal their hand, right? Mm-hmm. I felt like he kind of showed you some aces when he said that. And we should just think about that because maybe when he talks about scoring points, maybe Travis Hunter is someone who scores points. Yeah. Maybe there's
throw him in the red zone.
Wide receiver that scores points. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Interesting.
Just saying.
It's an interesting thought. Tomorrow we'll have a lot more interesting thoughts. Jaguars happy hour, 4 o'clock. Pete Prisco and Tony Baselli for the last time.
Oh, Tone. I hope you got gifts for Tony. You got parting gifts for Tony?
Gifts?
Yeah, he's gifting us stuff.
You know, he just signed a new contract, right?
No, but wait,
we are the gift.
No, but you got to give him a parting gift.
A handshake?
No. If this is his last thing.
Are you trying for another steak dinner? Is that what you're trying for?
I'm not trying for that. I'm just saying if he's been on happy hour. He's been committed to the show. He's been a great fixture of the show. I would expect to see like a parting gift, letters, cards, balloons maybe, something.
We got tweets for days.
Oh. Maybe run over to CVS.
Well, yeah, right. We'll be busy tonight trying to find some
like
gifts.
Me on Valentine's Day.
You just get the card by the register because it's the closest one. That'll do it for Huddle Up this week. We'll do it again next week, Bucky.
Should be fun. Looking forward to it.
Enjoy the combine.
Yeah,
this is your world. We just walk in it.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait for that dinner. God, I'm waiting for that Jaguars dinner.
So are we.
Might have a long wait.
Bucky Brooks, John Oehser, I'm JP Shadrick, and thanks for watching and listening. It's Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks.